What's going on?
Ain't nothing, man. Ain't nothing to it. First of all, I like to appreciate you, for coming on here and get ready to, tell a little bit about your journey, tell a little about your story, so people can see you, know a little bit more about you. So appreciate you for doing this, brother.
No, I appreciate you for having me, bro. I don't get to do this often, so
Yeah,
make sure I set up straight for you. All right, good to go.
we good to go. All right, so first for those who don't know who I am, that's coming from his page, I'm the founder of After the Ball Deflates, and here we're After the Ball Deflates. We get the athletes to tell their side of the stories, former and current players. Today, we got Malik on here, and we talk about his story, and then we're going to talk a little bit about life outside of football as well. So, with that being said, if you don't have nothing else, we can go ahead and get started with the questions, my brother.
Go ahead, brother. Rip them off. I'm ready.
All right, I got you. The first one is how was life for you growing up in Newcastle, Pennsylvania?
For me, it was cool. I mean, it really ain't no story as far as like no different than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on the west side of Newcastle, Pennsylvania. For those of you who don't know, it's like 15 minutes from Youngstown, Ohio, on the border, and like 40 minutes from Pittsburgh. So I grew up there I got 4 other siblings. I got 2 older sisters. I got 2 younger brothers, and it was pretty much just us, my grandmother, and my mom. My dad, he was kind of in and out of our life growing up. My brothers got the same dad, and then my sisters and them, they got different dads as well. So, but that was pretty much it. And as far as like the father figure growing up, for me, it was more of my uncle instead of my father. Like my uncle was the one who kind of, took me to the AAU tournaments and stuff, introduced me to football, so he was kind of that role model for me growing up.
All right. So the next question is, how old were you when you first started playing football?
When I first started playing football, it's crazy, bro, because I ain't even played like throughout Little League and stuff like that. Like my first time playing football, I obviously played like street football and stuff like that, growing up in the projects and stuff like that. But I ain't started playing like organized football till 5th grade. 5th grade, my first team was Central Bulldogs. For those of you, some of the guys, whoever's from Newcastle on here watching and stuff like that. That was my first team. And the funny thing is, like, I brought my uncle up. He was the one that forced me to play. Like,
oh, for real?
Man, it's funny, bro, because when I first went to practice, I remember going to the first practice when I'm in 5th grade, and the grade, and I think it was like 4th and 5th, and then the 6th graders, but we was all there at the signing. So
yeah,
I get to the first practice, man, and I see some of the kids. I'm like, bro, he twice my size. I was like, what am I doing here? So I ended up that first year. I'm like, man, Unc, I ain't playing. I ended up sitting out the first year, and then I came back the next year, and the next year I ended up coming out. I was pretty good. I was a receiver. I ended up being pretty good, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just stick it through. So I played 5th and 6th grade, and that was pretty much the first time that I got introduced to like organized ball and stuff like that, though.
All right. So you talk about, you start playing in the 5th grade, but word on the street is you grew up a hooper. That was like your first love?
Man, come on, man. Listen, see, basketball, it was more natural to me because, like I said, my older sisters, they was the hoopers growing up. So I was always chasing behind them and running behind them as far as the hooping and stuff like that. So my sister, she was my role model. Like a lot of people, they'd be like, they got a brother and stuff. Like my sister, that's who I was like, man, like she can hoop. Like she was playing with the guys and was beating on some of the guys and stuff like that growing up. So even like as far as middle school, like I wore her shoes because I was that much of she was that much of a role model for me. So that was who, what I'm saying, who kind of introduced me as far as the hooping thing.
Yeah. So what's the age gap between you and your sisters or like your siblings in general?
We all 2 years apart, except for my last 2 brothers. They a year apart.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when it came to hooping, what type of player was you? You know what I'm saying? Shooter, score, do it all. Like you
Man,
telling me you can hoop, but I don't know, bro.
Man, listen, you just seen my post the other day, man. I ain't gonna talk about it. Last time I had a rock in my hand, I had a triple double. I'm just the messenger. But I mean, I was more, in my eyes, I was more, if you play 2K, for the 2K fans out there, I was more like a two-way slash and playmaker. Like I could shoot it. Like I wouldn't shoot many. It would go in if I shoot it, but I wasn't one of those guys I was gonna come down and shooting your face and nothing like that. Like I was going to just drive past, I was more of, I wanted to dunk on somebody or something like that. So That was more my
Hold on,
game.
hold on, hold on. So you had bounce?
Yeah, hey, for the folks that don't believe, man, check it out. I've been on ESPN a couple times. It's still on YouTube. It's still on YouTube.
All right, we gotta set something up. We gotta set. So so when was that switch for you when you were like, all right, let me stop focusing on basketball and let me get, straight into football? Or did you have that, or was you kind of balancing the two?
Nah, man, for real, honestly, throughout high school, I was kind of balancing the two because I mean, I really ain't know which one I really wanted to go to. I wanted to be a basketball player as bad as I wanted it. I was only 6 foot at the
Yeah.
time. You look in the NBA, 6 foot, that's the coach. That's the coach. You know what I'm saying? Like the point guard starting out got to be 6'4", 6'5". So I mean, when I got back into football, because I ended up sitting out of football for a couple years after my 8th grade year, I ended up getting an injury on my arm, and I ended up saying that I was just going to focus on basketball for a couple years because I was doing a lot of traveling AAU ball too. So I ended up coming back out for football my junior year, and when I ended up coming out, I played a lot of guys from the Western PA area who was getting recruited heavily, from a lot of big schools and stuff like that, and I ended up making some plays, and that's when like a lot of my transition started happening because the offers started coming in, and I started to notice that, I mean, in football world, I'm considered to be a big player, you know what I'm saying, as far as like safety and a receiver. So that's where I was kind of like, man, well, I ain't tall enough for basketball, but this football thing, I'm pretty good at it too. So you might as well go ahead and give it a run too, whichever was going to make me be able to make it to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. So when you talk about the recruiting process, do you remember your first offer?
Yeah, I do. It's funny. My first offer, I think, was the University of Buffalo. University of Buffalo. It started with the University of Buffalo, and then I think like 2 weeks later, I got a Big Ten school, and then Ohio State came not too long after. But it was so much going on, like from that 2 week to I want to say a month process, as far as like the recruiting blowing up and the offers going in. Like, bro, it was crazy. Like literally every day I was waking up, my mom was telling me, "Yo, so and so called and want to give you an offer. I mean, scholarship." So it was like, man, I couldn't even tell you how many I had, how many,
Uh-huh.
at that time was coming in. It was just like, it was a lot, and at the time, me and my mom, like I said, we're a basketball family growing up. So we ain't know nothing about the recruitment process. Like we was literally winging it and going off of, what I'm saying? He say, she say, cause my uncle, he kind of was more like I don't want to say professional at the time, cause it wasn't none of us, like I said, really in our area getting recruited heavily like that. So he was kind of the one doing the research and all that to try to, tie it in all together for us. And that's kind of how it started working out for me.
I feel that. When you was getting those offers, what did that do for your confidence on the field? Like, did that make you feel like you arrived,
Man,
or you was like,
I ain't gonna lie. At that time, yeah, a little bit, a little bit, like because, like I said, like you see these guys that do training year in and year out. You know what I'm saying, and dedicate their time and their lives to want to make it to the next level, just specifically in football to make it to the collegiate level. And it was like, man, I only played 2 years of this, and I'm getting just as many offers in big time schools as those guys. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I am nice, you know what I'm saying, a little bit, but once I got to Ohio State and I ended up getting there, I mean, I know we're going to probably transition to that. It was that's where it kind of hit me. And I'm like, man, like this is a whole different ball game. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the transition for me that made me really want to lock in and focus on strictly football.
I got you. Now you talk about Ohio State, but before we get to there,
Mm-hmm.
what were like your top? Because every high school recruit, they got like a top three or top four, or whatever top five that they want to go to. What were your top schools before you even decided like Ohio State was the one you wanted to go to?
Honestly, like I ain't really have no top schools. The reason being, like for me, I was real family oriented at the time. Like I said, out of my siblings, I'm the oldest out of the my
Yeah,
brothers. So I'm
yeah.
at the time, I'm basically the man of the house and everything. So for me, I knew that I wanted to go somewhere, but I didn't want to go too far because I'd never took that step before, as well as my family didn't. And I knew at the time it was going to be hard on myself as well as for my family. So I tried to kind of stay to where it was driving distance, but it wasn't too far. So my other offer that I probably would have went to would have probably been like Pitt.
Okay.
At the time, like that was when a lot of the guys that was pretty good in the area and stuff too, they was going to Pitt too. So it was like either I can go to the hometown school and what I'm saying, bring everything back to the hometown school, which it was still cracking there at the time. Like I said, a lot of guys from the home city was still making it, jump and everything. So it was just to pick out of those two. For me, it wasn't no 5 schools or 3 schools. I mean, people, you could throw Penn State in there, but that was like a long haul, you know what I'm saying? That was a lot different from the area I was from. So that was in there just because of it being a PA school, but I kind of knew it was out of Pitt and Ohio State for me.
All right, now going to Ohio State, talked about, that was like a little wake up call for you on the football side. Talk about that a little bit, and like, because you said you only been playing for 2 years, so coming to Ohio State, you got a team full of people that's been giving blood, sweat, and tears since they were probably like 6, 7 years old. So how was that for you?
It was a wake up call for me because, like I said, I only been playing for 2 years at the time, and once I got there, like a lot of the guys was already well advanced as far as the football knowledge, the footwork, and just putting in the work and being able to get on the field early was already way ahead of me. So it was kind of a awakening call for me because I was always that guy coming from where I was from. I was always a star player. I was always starting, and doing all those type of things, as well as the other guys too. But like I said, they had more knowledge of the game than me. They played longer than me, and that was kind of where I was like, man, like, can I really do this? Because now I'm sitting behind guys who are actually talented. At the time where I was in Ohio State, I was behind Von Bell, who, I mean, if guys do the research, he's one of the top safeties in the league as we speak today. So it was hard for me to transition that to being the guy to just another guy.
Okay.
So that's what made me like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this at the time I was there.
Yeah. Did you ever want to quit football?
Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's funny because there's an interview out when I was at school, and it kind of tells the story of it. Like there was been plenty of times like I told my mom to come get me plenty of times. Like, Mom, listen, I ain't staying here. Come get me. Like, take me to where I can hoop. Like at that point, and luckily, like she was real hard on me and strict on finishing, whatever I started, because if she wouldn't have, it could have been a different turnout. I could have ended up going back home and trying the basketball route, not making it to where I am today, or what I'm saying, giving my brother the doors to make it to Ohio State after I had won and stuff like that. So I'm actually glad that, she stuck on me and still made sure that I stayed there, even though it was a lot of adversity and it was tough on me transitioning to there.
Yeah, I got you. So all right, here's something. If you could tell, the younger generation out here is so quick to jump in like the transfer portal and do different things like that, what's some advice that you would give to them about being patient and, following through with what you started with?
I mean, for myself, honestly, like I said, I keep faith in whatever, I believe in. So my mom, she preached that to me since I was young about keeping the faith, following, what you started and, following your heart and everything. So I just say, man, I'm not the guy to know each person's story, whoever jumps in the portal or anything like that. So, I mean, my advice would just be keep your faith. I mean, if you feel like going to another school is the best fit for you to get you to the next level or whatever the case may be, so be it. But for me, like, it was more so about the competition, because once you get to the NFL, as you know, everybody's good. So what are you going to do at that point? You can't just jump in the portal once you get to the NFL. So what are you teaching yourself doing it in the collegiate level? You know what I'm saying? So that was more my mindset after a while. Like, it's like, man, I either got the option to just quit and, try a different route. And, at that, when I do hit another adversity spot, once I get to the next level, or if I do get to the next level, would I be able to make it over that obstacle, or will I be not? So I just was like, man, I'm sure this ain't going to be the first time I'm going to be in this position. So I might as well stick it out, ride it out, and get ready for the next time that I'm in this uncomfortable spot, as I'll say, and see what happens from there. And like I said, luckily I kept my faith and, a close circle and stuff like that around me, because if it wasn't for that, then, like I said, who would have known what would have happened when I came into the league and the same position was still up front.
Yeah, you're right. That's some good advice right there. And talk about like what it meant to you to win the national championship when y'all won it. Y'all won it twice.
The years I was there, we only won it once. We won it once the year I was there. The first year, it was my first year actually, and it's funny because I was redshirted the first year, but I mean, once you're redshirted, you still go through everything. You just don't get a chance to play. So me going through it and seeing the work that those guys put in, and just the camaraderie that the team had at the time, because they was real close and everything. It was special for me because it was like, man, like I'm seeing the work that some of these guys who was in, because I had talks with some of the older guys too, some of the work that these guys put in that was in the same position as me, make it, and now they're the guys that's shining. So it just gave me more confidence in sticking it out and, putting the work in and getting ready for the next season. Because I was like, if he can do it, I can do it, because his story is no different than me. Like I said, growing up, a lot of the guys that make it to the next level are guys that have the same type of story, come
Yep.
from the projects, no father figure, and all that case may be. So I'm just like, man, all right, it's just giving me a chance to even put my mind and make my mind even more confident. Like I know I'm gonna be able to get this job done whenever my time comes. So that's how I looked at it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you said the last 2 years was the years that you played,
Yeah.
and when you took that leap and you had that big season before you went into the league, when did you know that, yeah, I can make it to the NFL? Like, this is something I could do for a long, long time and be good at it.
Honestly, man, it took me till about my third or fourth interception that year. Cause we used to the class that I was in, it was me, Marshawn, Gary on Conley, Denzel Ward, like those guys, them are all first round draft pick guys, and we was all on the same team in the same secondary. So throughout the season, like I'm thinking like, man, let's just make plays and I'm preparing for the next season. I'm not in my mind thinking of the NFL until it got to that fourth interception. Those guys like, man, like you going to the league, like you going to the league, like you know how guys be, man. So we chopped it up on the bench and stuff like that. And once I had my fourth pick, I think I had ran back like 2 or 3 at the time. I'm like, dang, like, man, I don't see too many guys in the college football doing this. Like maybe I can make it to the next level. And then I had like a couple more, I think like 3 more or something like that. And then that's when I was like, man, this is the perfect door for me. Like this is my time. Like this is what I've been waiting for. I went out there and I put the work in and I put on the show enough for me to be able to say that I'm capable of being not only a draft pick, but a top 10 or top 15 draft pick going into the NFL draft. So it was a no-brainer for me, to change my situation.
Yep, for sure, for sure. And you talk about, that draft.
Mm-hmm.
What did it? How were your nerves draft night? Because I know I see a lot of NFL, NBA that like people like they don't know what's going on. So talk about those emotions and nerves that you were facing before your name got called at 15.
I mean, it was still surreal to me. Like, honestly, I think my mom was more nervous about that night than me. Like, in my mind, I was like, just being drafted for me was cool because, like I said, I didn't have as many years as a lot of guys that was in the draft or whatever the case may be, like I said before. So when we're sitting there waiting for the call and everything, like we got the hats lined up, I'm like, man, they're saying I'm going top 10. So I'm like, I'm hoping, I'm praying that I'm getting drafted on the first day regardless. But when they got to, I think, like, they were saying I was supposed to go to 7th pick. It got to, like, 10, 12. My mom started, like, looking at my phone. It got to the 13th, the 14th pick, and then the 15th came up. And right before it got to the 15th, that's kind of when you get the call. So I'm looking at the phone. My mom actually grabbed my phone before I did. Like, the Indianapolis popped up, and my mom grabbed the phone, and she's like, they're calling. So just the nerves of, my mom being anxious about it and, having the whole, because I didn't go to the draft either. I did it back home in the city
Okay.
with a lot of my folks from back home, just to go and see that call and then see a lot of the people that know my background, seeing what I've been through coming up and helped me along the way to get to where I was at the point of time. It was real surreal for me. And then when I seen the call, like, man, it's a feeling you can't explain. Like,
Yeah.
I'll say there's only one other feeling in the world that I think was better than that for me, and it was probably having my daughter. Honestly, like that was the only other time in my life where I felt like, man, I was on top of the world other than that night.
Okay. And we're gonna get into that later, fatherhood and all that. So going from, coming from where you come from, going to college, and then becoming 15th pick in the draft. Talk about a little bit of how that transition was and how much of an adjustment it was from going from a college student with a little money to now having, millions of dollars in your account. And now that kind of changes the way people are around you and different things like that. So talk about that transition a little bit.
It was difficult, honestly, for me because, I mean, I was one of those guys where I was coming up and I wanted to bring my guys with me, like my guys, my folks from back home. I wanted to bring everybody, as many people as I could. So for me, once I got to where, I kind of seen, money makes a lot of people different. People want to just say they're related to you in X, Y, Z because you became that guy or got drafted and got money now. Like, it was kind of easy for me to start turning a lot of that away once I got a little farther in because I knew I'm naturally introverted anyway. So when people that I don't really talk to on a daily basis, or people that really don't align to what I do on a daily basis start reaching out, like, it's a weird sign to me anyway. So I was already kind of iffy about it, but I still try to, like, you know what? That's just what it is. Let me try to bring people along. But the older I got and the more I got around guys that have been through and guys that have been professionals already longer in the league than me, it was kind of like you start aligning and putting the dots where they need to be. And you're like, man, like, this really ain't aligning up to where I want to be down in the future.
Mm-hmm.
This is taking a toll on me mentally because it's keep getting brought up or whatever the case may be. So it was kind of, I'll say, a 50-50, an easy and a hard choice for me because, like, along the way, you lose a lot of friends, too. You lose a lot of friends, family members, and people you wouldn't believe will act a certain way with you. So it was hurtful for me, and it was a kind of good thing for me in a way, too, because now, like, where I am now in my career and how old I am now, like, it just shows that, you know what I'm saying, my vision's clear. And if you don't line up with my vision of where I'm trying to go and where I'm trying to get, then I can't be around you. And it just made it easier for me now because they already got themselves out of the way back then just off of me connecting the dots, being around other professionals that went through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And how was that mentally
Mm-hmm.
for you to kind of like cut people off that you thought was like, had your best hearted interest or whatever, and you thought that they were gonna be here for the long run, like, because even non-athletes, people every day, we experience that. It was like, man, I thought this person was really supposed to be my friend, my family, or blood thicker than water, but that's not the case necessarily. So how was that for you? Like,
It was difficult for me because the people that I was thinking, was with me on the journey, that have seen a lot of, like I said, the path that I've came up with, like, you'd have thought that they had a more understanding of, how it's supposed to be, just for the simple fact of, once you become that person who makes it to that level, you try to protect your brand or you try to protect that person, and you want to say, well, we don't want him to come back to there. And for me, like, it was just hurtful because I really couldn't understand why those people that I had at the time wouldn't want to not necessarily be a part of the journey, but wouldn't be understanding of what I was trying to align with when they know what I was already at before. You see what I'm saying? So it was definitely hurtful. It was definitely difficult for me, but I mean, like I said, it was like it was a bad door open. I mean, bad door closing for a better door opening up for me. Once I shut that behind me and put all that behind me, like, I felt like that was when I really made the strides that I needed on the field and in personal life as well too. Honestly,
for sure. So now you get drafted to the Colts. You play your first year. What was your welcome to the NFL moment where you like, oh snap, like, yeah, like, oh.
I'll probably say, honestly, my first 3 games in the league, just for the simple fact of, like, I had 3 interceptions in 3 games back to back. So I'm like, man, like, this is what the NFL is about. Like, man, because at the time I'm getting all the publicity and stuff like that. Like I said, I was the 15th pick and everything. So you get the articles. He's living up to the hype. He's the player that they wanted him to be, and especially for me because I was already coming off of injury back then. I was already coming off of a hip surgery and everything. So it was like, man, like, I'm still him. Like, I'm still the guy that I wanted to be when I get here. So I'd say that was probably my welcome moment. Them first 3 games back to back where I still had the confidence that I was still the player that I was pre-draft too.
Okay. So going a little bit further into your seasons with the Colts, you face injuries.
Mm-hmm.
How was it mentally, going through those injuries, bouncing back, and then facing another injury?
I say it was definitely a hard thing for me because up until my NFL career, like, I've never had an injury. Hold on, bro.
Yeah, you good. See, that's what happens when you got kids, man. You know. Daddy duties.
But yeah, so I say it was difficult for me just because, like, I've never been injured. I never had a severe injury up until then. So it was just hard for me because I couldn't understand why. It was like, man, I'm putting the work in. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I'm supposed to. So it's like, why is this happening now instead of then? When I wasn't really as, obviously knowledge-wise, I was up to par with these guys then. So why is it happening now when I'm focused and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to up to the T? So that's how I was looking at it. I'm just like, why me now? Why?
Yeah, yeah. So mentally going through that, and then having those dark days.
hmm
Who was there to kind of help you through those dark days and kind of push you through, or was it just like a journey you had to go on your own?
It was more. My family was there a lot, man. They was there a lot of the tough days, cause man, a lot of them injuries, man. Listen, there was rough days waking up where you just wake up with attitude, like man, F the world, like I ain't, man. I gotta go through this, and this ain't what's supposed to be. But I had like a close circle. I say my best friends. I'm still friends with him to this day. My man's Tay. I went to school with him. Man, there was days where he would drive all the way from Canton, Ohio to
Mm.
Indianapolis just to help me, you know what I'm saying, be able to do stuff for football as far as driving me around and stuff. Because some of them injuries, I couldn't drive. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I was off medication and stuff like that. So I'll say him, and as well as there's a few other of my close friends. I'll say his brothers. A lot of my friends from college that I was cool with, as well as my close family, my siblings and stuff like that. Was who was kind of keeping me sane and keeping me maintained through a lot of those main injuries.
yeah. I feel like when you face injuries or just when you face those down moments in life in general,
Mhm.
that's when you really figure out like who really rocking with you. Because when you
Yeah,
playing on Sundays no more and nobody hitting you up for tickets or
yeah.
calling you games and stuff, it's like ain't none of that. So now I really get to see who rocking with me. So
And it definitely it's funny because still to this day, like I said, like me and him, like we as close as there can be. Like even still to this day, if it's as far as I'm going through something, even if I'm having a bad week or something, like he'll be like, man, you need me to come out there. So it's like, man, those people that I was with in those dark times, like that's who I like. Basically, that's me when you see me now to this point, to this day, still to this day, man. So I couldn't be more grateful for those people that was there for me when I was going through those tough times because it wasn't easy. Like I said, I know it wasn't easy dealing with me on their end because it was like I said, I was waking up snappy some days in pain, irritated with people just because of the pain and stuff like that. So I know I was a lot to deal with, and like I said, I'm very appreciative of the circle that I had going through those dark times for sure.
yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. So you come back from those injuries. When you came back, was it your free agency or was you able to play another season after those injuries?
I ended up, so man, I had which one? Because I had a couple of, I had like five of them. So I mean, which one? My time in Indy when I came back from the injuries, like it was just one after another. And my
Mm-hmm.
very last injury up to par was my Achilles that I had right before my fifth year option going into Indy. So once I had tore my Achilles, I was going into my fifth year option. They ended up not picking it up and everything. And I mean, like I said, thankfully, I mean, sadly and thankfully, it happened that way because it was kind of like I needed a new scenery. I was tired of dealing with the same thing, going through the same process every off season, and you know what I'm saying, kept saying, "Well, this is the year we're gonna get healthy. This is the year we're going." And it was just the same thing, the same letdown. So once they didn't pick up my fifth year option, and I finally got a whole off season to rehab my mind mentally, my body physically, and spiritually and stuff like that. Like I feel like that was the best time of my life because that's when I was really getting back to being to understand myself and know myself as the player and the person that I was before the injuries. So
Mm-hmm.
that was like I said, it was probably the best thing that happened to me. And then I came back from my Achilles, and that was when it's funny because Dallas picked me up kind of still coming back from my Achilles. They picked me up and they let me rehab for 2-3 weeks into camp before they kind of let me off the leash. And like I said, thankfully, when I got there, that the training staff as well as Mr. Jerry Jones was real understanding of my situation. And I was very appreciative because, like I said, they gave me even a little more time to get myself back to where I was mentally, emotionally, and physically. So like I couldn't be more grateful to be in the position that I was when I came off of that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, coming off an injury and going ahead into like free agency, that's the time where a lot of players are like, all right, am I going to have another team take a chance on me? Like,
Mhm.
like how is it mentally for you going through that, trying to figure out like, all right, is this team going to take a chance on me? Or did you have any other teams in the mix that was.
Uh, Honestly, it was up and down for me. I'm not as far as the teams in the mix. I actually kind of shut it down because at the time, like I said, I knew I wasn't healthy enough to start out camp. Like I was good. Like I'd have been good enough to get by, but I wasn't gonna be myself. So I was thankfully able to just say that, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to take no more visits or whatever the case may be until I feel like I'm good enough to play. And even in the midst of me saying that, Dallas was real heavy on wanting me to be there, as well as I was getting a couple calls from Pittsburgh as well too. And like I said, they was just willing to be walking with me, take the steps with me step by step, and welcome me back into being able to play and stuff like that. So like I said, thankfully they was on me as hard as they was, because who knows what would have happened if I wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? Because it's an up and down roller coaster. You're dealing with possible movement to another place. You're still rehabbing. You're trying to rehab in the same place you was, or have to find somewhere else to rehab. Depending on if you got family, you have to find family as far as your kids, where they're going to go to school, to different schools and stuff like that. So it can definitely be tough for anybody that knows how the free agency works as far as coming off injury and everything. So it's definitely an up and down roller coaster for me.
Yeah. So getting our opportunity with Dallas, what was your mindset going in, especially knowing that that's such a historic franchise? That's basically like playing for the Lakers at the NFL, and
Yeah.
the fan base that comes with that, and like the high expectations. So
Mm-hmm.
what was your mindset heading into playing for them?
At that point, like, I mean, in my mind, like, I was willing to do whatever I can just to get, because at the time you go and you go on a visit and you hear the talks about what the team's going through at the time. And I was hearing that they was trying to rebuild and stuff like that. So for me, like, my ego was put down anyway, just for the simple fact of they're asking me to come in here and help these guys bring this back to life, this defense back to life, even though I'm coming off an injury. So it was like, man, like, they got a lot of trust in me, a lot of faith in me, for me to come back from this injury and be the player that I was, for them to help them rebuild this defense and this team back to where it needs to be. So just off of that, man, like, I was very appreciative of that. Like, even still to this day, like, when I see Mr. Jerry and even Coach McCarthy, like, I always tell them, man, I appreciate you guys for taking a chance on me, because a lot of teams wouldn't know with the history that I have. A lot of teams wouldn't have called. A lot of guys wouldn't have came back from the injuries I came back from. So I was just always very appreciative, and anything that they asked me to do, I'm like, man, I'll do it. I'll do it. Whatever it is, I'll do it, just because y'all took a chance. Like, so, like I said, it was just special for me. And it's always going to be a special bond, a relationship with me and Dallas, just for the simple fact of that. Because, like I said, they ain't have to, even though I was going through, because I wasn't healthy at the time. So it's always going to be a special place in my heart from them.
So finally getting back healthy and putting that jersey on, especially what comes with that jersey.
Mm-hmm.
How was that first game back on the field when you were like, all right, I'm back out here, I get another chance?
It was kind of 50-50. Like, I was excited, but I was nervous too, because it's like, man, like, all right, here we go again. I'm back. Like, and that wasn't even necessarily with the injuries. It was more so like, what if I don't got the same jump that I had before? What if I'm not back where I was? Like, what if I hate that player that I was before? So it was like, just like anybody else, negative thoughts up and down. But once I got out there and the first play happened and I made my movements and I was cool, like, it was like, oh, man, I'm here to stay. Let's get this on the road. Like, I can do this. Like, that's all it took was me to get out there and make that first play. That's all it took. And once I did that, like, I ain't looked back from it. And luckily, the team that I got, like, those guys, they was, before they even knew me, it's funny. If I tell people all the time, the first person I met when I got in the locker room was Donovan Wilson, who was the other safety, Donovan Wilson. Before I even got on the field, like, just the confidence that they was talking to me with, like, yeah, man, we can't wait to get you out there. Like, that made it that much easier for me to go out there and be able to come back and play the type of player and play style that I got. It made it that much easier.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we're going to skip to this season that you have right here, playing against your former team that didn't pick up your fifth year option or whatever, and then having a game that you had against them, even though you'll probably be like, I didn't go out there. I didn't, I'm saying, I'm gonna just go out there and play my game. We're gonna be like, in your head, you like, all right, I'm really about to lock in this game. So, how did that make you feel knowing about the game that you had, 2 interceptions, and like y'all like blew the doors off in that game, I think?
Oh, man, I was happy because it was like, for me, like, the way we left off on the terms, how we left off, like, it was like a slap in the face to me, because it was like, man, when you're going through those injuries and you're trying to fight back from those injuries, I feel like a lot of the higher power forgets that at the end of the day, you're still human. So for the way it ended and it just be, all right, well, thank you, we appreciate you, and to send me on my way, it was like, man, I can't wait. Now, the team, like a lot of people that's in Dallas and that knows, they'll tell you like that was something I marked. Like I knew that game, like that was something I had to show. It was something I had to show, and I was determined to show that just for the simple fact of I felt like they half believed in me after them first couple injuries. Even though I was still making plays, every time I was on the field there, I was still making some plays along with the injuries. Like it was like they half believed in me, so it was like, man, I got to show them now. Like I'm here and I'm not going nowhere. And when I made the first pick, like that was just like, oh, this is a piece of cake now. Like I'm finna make 3-4 more plays and show them like, man, I'm here. Like this is me. This is who y'all drafted. And then I ended up getting the fumble recovery and scoring. And it was like, man, like it was a burden off my shoulders, not just because of that. It was just like, man, all that you've been through, all the injuries and stuff like that. It's like, man, I'm finally hitting my peak now. I'm hitting to where I'm still going, I'm elevating. And it was like a lot of people, I said, after dealing with those type of injuries, a lot of guys wouldn't think that they're just going to maintain at that point and just finish their career. And for me, like, I feel like my best ball's ahead of me. And that's one of the games that started it, honestly.
Yeah. And even outside of football, I think that game, if people know your story, if people know like what you've been through, that's like a testament to life, though.
Yeah.
Like, you count somebody out, and when you see the person that counted you out, or you see the business or whoever that counted you out, and you get that time and you get that opportunity to show them like what they missed out on, that lets them know that like you said, yeah, you still got it, yeah, you still here, and it's like you probably could have cried or something when you scored. I don't know what you might have did.
I was like, I don't even like, bro. It was so funny because I didn't know what to do. Like the only thing I could do was funny because when I scored, the first people that I remember seeing was the guys that I kind of hang with off the field. My dog Fat, my dog JK, my dog Dono, my dog Is. Like them is all the guys. That's the room that I'm really in and I'm always in. So for me to score and have that moment, those be the guys that first, brought me in open arms and stuff like that to be running in the end zone with me after I scored. Like, it's like they was kind of letting them know too for me, like, yeah, y'all let one go away. So, man, I couldn't even explain it. I wanted to punt the ball. I wanted to do so much, but I was just so relieved because, like I said, bro, like, it was just like man, because even after the game, like, I mean, before the game, I seen a lot of the staff and a lot of the players that was there, and it was like, it was a bittersweet moment for me because some of the players wish I was still there. Some of the staff was saying that they wish I was still there and stuff like that. But like I said, business is business. And it's like, man, now y'all let one go. And you know what I'm saying? I'm back on my feet. I'm back here.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a big moment. I thought when they interviewed you after the game, I thought she was going to get on. I thought she was going to talk your talk. I had my phone. I'm like, yeah, you about to say.
Man, as bad as I want to, man, as bad as I want to, like, that just ain't me because, like I said, like, bro, you know what I'm saying? It could have happened to anybody. So it's just like, man, it was just another day for me. As happy as I was, as good as I was, I still had to, you know what I'm saying, show my gratitude. Because at the end of the day, like, it ain't no ill will between me and the Indianapolis Colts. It's never going to be that because, like I said, they took me in open arms before anybody did coming into the league. And that's all anybody could ask for. So, but it was just, like I said, it was just a slap in the face for me to still make those plays, even though I was getting injured and still not to be recognized as a good player or a player that, like, it was like he's just always injured. He never makes plays. I still had interceptions and good stats when I was on the field. I just couldn't stay healthy or I wasn't always healthy. So I was like, man, I can't really pop it like that because I'm very appreciative of them too. So.
But the next time this season, when you got gritty or something, like, you know what I'm
saying? Man, somebody told me the other day, man, I got to figure out a dance because best believe I'm going to touch the paint again, so I got to figure out something I'm going to do, man. We always be talking about it. I'm not really a dancing guy, so I don't know if it's going to be the gritty or nothing like that, but I'm going to definitely have to figure something out that I'm going to be able to celebrate with, that people going to remember me as.
Yeah, you got to put your personality into it a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I feel it. So, all right, before we get into these next questions, what's one thing that you're looking forward to the most, or that the team that y'all looking forward to the most with this upcoming season?
That's easy, man. I'll say finishing what we started, man, because the last 2 years you watched, man, we was right there. Like, we lost the game off of one play, or we lost our last game off of one play in both of those last 2 seasons. So, and we know we're capable of taking that next step to being Super Bowl contender and stuff like that. We got the roster to do it. We got the defense and we got the guys on offense to do it. We've shown that game in and game out. Like, we competed with the best. We compete with, the teams, a lot of the teams that's in our division, them are the teams that's making it to the playoffs and guys that's competing for the chip. So we know we're capable of doing it, man. We just got to put that next thing or whatever the case may be. We got to come together and find out what that next step is for us to cross over that obstacle or whatever the case may be. So that's what we're looking forward to, man. We're hungry. We're ready. We already been putting in the work all off season. A lot of guys you see on social media, we're working out together. We've been in the playbooks and stuff like that. A lot of guys, even like a lot of our young guys, are coming along. So, man, we're ready to go against anybody, line up against anybody, and we know that we're going to compete from the beginning to the end.
All right, I just got one thing to say. When y'all play my Commanders,
man, listen, it's definitely no mercy there. Like, I got to show out there. Now that I'm cool with all my folks from back in the day, I got to show out for y'all, man. We definitely got to show out them games. I don't want to hear no bragging or nothing like that in the offseason. I'll be hanging out with y'all. So,
look, if anything, just go 1-1. Lose one, win. I'll be fine with that.
Man, I can't do that, brother. I'm sorry, I can't do that. They in the way of what we trying to accomplish. They put them in our division. Sorry, Commanders. They put y'all in our division.
It's cool. I'll let it slide. All right, so now we're gonna talk about life outside of football. You talked about the birth of your daughter, all of that. So how has it been with balancing being a football player, a man, a family guy, and then being a dad as well?
It's definitely. I mean, like I said, I'm still learning and growing with it too. Because my daughter's only 2 years old, so I'm still learning and growing too. But it's definitely a process. Like, what I'm saying, it teaches you a lot of patience for sure. Because I never thought in a million years that I'd be having a kid as early as I did. But luckily, me and my lady, we ended up coming together and deciding that it was best for what we was working with in the moment. And once we decided to make this family and build this family like we are, man, it's just been special. Like, she gets to see me go through the process of being, not just a father, but a football player as well. And it's special because, to her, I'm Superman. Like, anybody she sees on TV playing any sports, that's daddy. It don't matter who it is. Like, it don't matter what it is. And just to see her grow every day, as well as, myself growing with the process with her and us growing as a family through this process, like, it's special, man. Like I said, it has its up and down days like anything else, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, it's teaching me how to be a better man on the field as well as off the field, because then I can go in there and I can relate to some of the young guys who might come upon, wanting to build a family or trying to build a family, and even, like I said, in the wrong way, trying to build a family, because, when you get to the league, they call them snags. That's what we had.
We know how that goes, man. We know.
So luckily, like I said, I'm one of the guys that, try to do it right, and is trying to do it right still as far as the family thing. So I'm able to give some of my life advice as far as what I deal with on the basis with me and my family, what me and my lady might go through sometimes, what the better days is, what some of our worst days is. So like I said, man, it's a process. It's like anything else. You got to, just as much time as I put in studying film and all that stuff, you have to put that same time in it. And I feel like the off season, that's where you kind of nip all the family stuff in the bud. You take your family trips. You put all that stuff in action then. So when the football season comes and, family knows that you got to lock in, that it's easier for you to be able to focus on your job because you already put all your family time and stuff in the off season. So that's why a lot of people, you see me traveling and doing a lot of stuff with my family now, because when I get in the season, I know we travel a lot. We go away on Saturdays and we're away Sundays, and some Sundays we get back late, 2, 3 in the morning. So I know it's a lot. And just for the simple fact that, like I said, my daughter's 2. She ain't easy to deal with.
I be feeling that.
The terrible too. So, and I know sometimes it can be a lot for wifey as well. So, I try to help as much as I can, and even like I said, during the season as much as I can too, because I know it can be a lot.
Yeah. Shout out sis. Love you, sis. All right. So, 2 last questions that I have for you. If you was to sit down with your younger self, what is something that you would tell your younger self?
I heard this saying not too long ago, man. Shout out to my dog Chico. I don't know if you aren't watching this or not. Apex is my Bill Ford family, but Chico came in there the one day and he had a quote and it said, procrastination kills talent. And I'll say just that one because, like, a lot of stuff we procrastinate on because we don't think we're good enough or we're ready for it and stuff like that. And that was kind of like myself. Like I said, a lot of that process, me growing up and wanting to transition to football or into sports, whatever the case may be, like, I procrastinated on because I didn't think I was ready as far as knowledge-wise or talent-wise, or I haven't been doing it as long as somebody else. And it's like, man, a lot of the times when you do that, like, you're already killing yourself out of the game and knocking off the chances of your opportunity. You might be missing the opportunity just because you're procrastinating. And I'm a firm believer in procrastination. I mean, not procrastination, but opportunities don't go to waste. They go to somebody else. So who knows? If I'd have started earlier, maybe I'd have got my scholarship earlier and tried to get the football show on the road earlier or something like that. Or, open doors for some of the younger guys coming from back my way earlier. But that's something I'll probably say to myself as well as, man, keep the faith, man. Keep your head down, keep your faith. Because, like I said, a lot of the stuff that I've been through, even just going through college, like I was dealing with a lot of family members passing away, even in the league. Like the last couple of years, I had a lot of family members pass away from cancer and stuff like that. I say, man, just keep your head down, believe, because, man, you never know what's on the other side of that door. And the other side of the door for me was Dallas Cowboys, as well as, family and my daughter. And these is my best days, man. And I feel like even better days are ahead of me. So I say, man, just keep your head down, keep your faith, and keep taking everything a step at a time. Put everything in front of you and get 1% better every day. Look up, you never know where you might be.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Hey, look, at the end of this, I'm going to edit, I'm going to chop it up. I'm going to make that a reel right there. Hey, put some music.
Hey, make sure you send me that, too. I need that.
Huh?
Yeah, I said, make sure you send me that, too. I need that.
No, I got you for sure, for sure. And the last one is life outside of football. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you're interested in and that, you've been into as far as like business-wise, personal-wise, in order to grow your portfolio for when that time comes where it's time to hang up the cleats?
Business-wise, I mean, I'm kind of, because I'm going into year 7 now. I'm starting to transition of trying to become more of an entrepreneur and learning more of the business aspect of it. Because, I mean, I'm not one of those guys, like I said, who knows, football is a physical sport, it can end any day, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't take that for granted. So I want to be one of those guys when it's all said and done, like people look at not only as a football player, but as whether it's a businessman or a mentor off the field or whatever the case may be. So I'm kind of trying to transition into being something like that, a mentor, entrepreneur, all those aspects of it. But as far as activity, man, like I'm a cornhole guru, man. I'm a pool guru.
Hold on, time out.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, who?
Cornhole guru.
According to who, bro?
According to who? Now, I'm sure Marlon and them probably see this. Ask Marlon and them. They want me to sign the boards there almost, bro. Because it's like when that hand get and it can be a 4-bag at any moment, man. So it's like that's what I do, like cornhole, pool, and other than that, honestly, like I said, anything involving family. Like, I mean, I'm to the point in my life, like anytime I get to spend with not just like my family here as far as wifey and baby girl, but my siblings and stuff like that. Any chance I get to spend with that, I don't take it for granted. Because, man, it's crazy out here in this world. There's a lot of stuff happening. Lives getting taken quick. You know what I'm saying? There's so much going on. So it's like, man, I try to live more in the moment, enjoy and cherish the times that I might not get too often just because of what I do and stuff like that. So I'm more so in that aspect of my life right now.
Okay. Well, that's it with the questions. If you want, we can open it up for like 2 or 3 people on here to ask a question or something like that before we head out. I think one person had a question.
They can ask them. I don't even really see it.
I can see it. If y'all want to ask any questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm going to put like 2 or 3 up, and then we're going to get off of here. Let me just go end it. Let me see. Somebody requested to join. And I don't know about that.
Man, they might get on here and be asked and talking about some, man, Malik, you gonna follow me back, man? And there's no disrespect to people. I just like keeping what I see on social media to an extent, man. I don't like seeing all the crazy stuff and stuff like that. That's why I don't be following people back and stuff like that, man. I like keeping my social media PG-13, honestly.
I feel that. All right, here go a question. Can you see it at the bottom? is Ohio State being Michigan this year? I mean, of course you're gonna say yeah.
Man, I hope so, man. Because listen, I'm tired of hearing Jay Lou and them in the locker room, bro. Listen, I'm tired of hearing those guys in the locker room. They got to win this year. Because I'm tired of it. If y'all, hey, I'm gonna come there. I might come to the game personally this year, make sure. But I don't really see the other comments, bro. Like, that's what I see.
Here's another one right here. What made you attracted to the Cowboys once they showed interest?
The confidence that they had in me, like when you go through the process, I mean, you talk to some of the coaches and stuff like that. You can go on a visit, you meet with a lot of the coaches, and it was like when I went in there, the confidence that because Coach McCarthy, he's from the PA area too, so just the confidence that he had in me, and as well as I mean, Mr. Jerry Jones, man, that they had even after the injury, like it spoke a lot to me personally because it's like, man, like I said, like I wasn't one of those guys where 15 teams was calling me. It was like I said, it was about 2 or 3 maybe showing me interest, and they was checking often. They brought me on. I mean, if people remember, they brought me on. I think 2 visits. The first visit I came on, it was me, JK, and KZ all on the same visit, and they brought me back and signed us all. So just that, like a lot of teams after you go to your first one and you show you're not healthy, they just be like, all right, well, next one. So just for them to bring me back and be like, all right, well, we keeping you here and you're not going nowhere, man. It showed a lot of confidence in me, and it made it that much easier for me to come in and want to give my all and play for them like that, how I do on the field.
All right, and then one last one. Someone said, all right, here we go. Oh, this person wants to join. I'm gonna let them on, but if they want some wild stuff, then. But let me see. I think they about to come on here now.
I didn't even know this many people can even be on Instagram Live, bro. I'm like an old man on here, bro.
Yeah, well, for some reason I don't think he could join, but he said, when was your favorite moments or it said Malik Hooker. When were your favorite moments or memories from the Dallas Cowboys? If you had to only choose one, which would it be?
Can I kind of put? Now I don't want to say just one. Can I kind of put multiple into one?
Yeah,
Say, man, the bus rides, and the plane rides there, because it's like, man, we get to, you know what I'm saying, relax and really link in with each other and chop it up with each other on a personal level, as well as get to enjoy each other's time. And man, honestly, like that's a lot of fun for me, because a lot of those guys, like my man Donovan, my dog Dono, you don't see him outside of that football field. So for me to, you know what I'm saying, see him outside of that aspect and, you know what I'm saying, get to kick it with him on a daily basis and be able to see him outside of who the football player is, and as well as JK and them, like it's that much special to me, and it makes it that much, our bond that much special, you know what I'm saying? So I say the bus rides, man, because them be the times that, you know what I'm saying, when you retire and everything, that you want back most and the most that you remember. So I say the bus and the plane rides, I honestly say.
yeah, all right. Well, that's all I have for you, my brother. Appreciate you for coming on here. Good chopping it up, sharing your story. And, you know, much success this season. I'm going to try to get out there for a game.
I'm going to tell you a game you got to get to. I'm going to show you exactly.
What I get to?
The Commanders. at the Commanders.
Say less. I'm there.
But no, I appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you giving me a chance to kind of share my story and all that on here, bro. Definitely, like I said, I definitely appreciate you, and I'm grateful for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But we're going to end it here. I'll hit you up.
All right, bro.
All right.
Peace.
All right.